Hey, happy Human Rights Day, which I think is when you're going to be getting this, or maybe like sometimes after. I'm Dale. I'm your librarian. Reach out to me at any time you like. Via email is best. And I'm contractually obliged to answer your questions. I'm also delighted to answer your questions too. I am the liaison to sociology, but also social work and communication. But there's many librarians all over the place, so if I don't know the answer to your question, I know like a whole bunch of people that might. So in an academic library, we have the big four, which I will tell you about, and then I'm going to show you resources specifically for the research you're doing for this class. And then within that, I'm going to show you some keyword searching strategies, some open web and AI strategies, and then hopefully this will come to a mercifully quick end. Okay, first thing, the big four. Every academic library has a catalog. Or you could type in something like unhoused, which is the trendy word for homelessness these days. Rhetoric is an important part of influencing in public policy, so you'll often see keywords like this change. But you can see that it hasn't been as noted as much as homeless. I won't get into the rhetoric of things, but this is an excellent example of sometimes you need to try several different keywords, right? If you go out to the open web and you type these things in, there's a very smart search. This one is not a smart search, and it's deliberately systematic. So if you misspell homeless, say I'm a snake. What? Oh, it's correcting stuff. Okay. If typically, though, if you misspell something, it's going to choke on it. So beware. Spelling counts in many of the databases that we're going to be looking at. Okay, so that can get you access to books, DVDs, hundreds of thousands of scholarly articles, dissertations, et cetera, et cetera. It's a great place to start. Second thing every academic library has is databases. This is where those scholarly articles typically reside in different disciplines. So if you're doing Parks and Rec, or if you're doing psychology, the cool thing about sociology, which is why I adore it so much, is that it's related to everything. Your trivia for the day, I have heard engineering called applied social sciences because they're making stuff for people. And I'm just like, oh, I love that. So if you know the name of a database, somebody says go to EBSCO, if they say go to PsycInfo, JSTOR, this is where those lists are. And I'll do that a couple times. Third thing, interlibrary loan. If you have something that you need, like if you find something out on Google Scholar, or if you find something cited, if you can't get it, we'll get it for you for free. Don't pay for anything at this point. Also, if you need a book or anything like that, and we don't have it, even if it's a textbook, reach out to me via my email, and I'll buy it for the library, and you can be the first to check it out. Last thing, research guides. If you follow along with me, I will take you to the guide that I'll use for this assignment. Sociology. And you can see all the other librarians as well. If you just click on sociology, here we can see some fans at a Taylor Swift concert. But what you can see is a couple videos that I have. One, how to use Social Explorer to quickly examine census data, and a crash course of undergraduate research. This will be better. This video is going to be better. That one was really short. So if you go to Social Research Methods, there's a guide that I made, and I use in classes just like this one. So you can see I have some loaded keywords that you can use. I have some non-scholarly things, but people can look up like news or polls or newspapers. Here's some Google search ideas. So if you're interested in gender equality or gender equity in esports, this is like a Google search. And you'll get your AI overview, and you'll see maybe some articles. So if you wanted to get this article and you couldn't get it, where would you get it? Interlibrary loan. Okay. So here's the databases we're going to start with. These are my favorites for sociology, but there's probably other ones. So if you have a specific problem that you're working on, reach out to me and I'm happy to consult with you. But I'll start with sociological abstracts. Again, this is a database that shows up right here. So if we went to S, we would find sociological abstracts. I just have them linked here. Out of this, in this database, this represents a lot of sociology journals. So there's things from all over the world. So some psychology, some about civil engineering, some about specific populations and things like that. If you type in a single word, I'm going to do housing, it will, instead of doing a smart search, it's going to look for the incidences of that word specifically. And you'll see it pop up in like titles, or you'll see it maybe shows up in the abstract. And you can see the date range of the articles that show up with housing. Stuff didn't start getting imported until the 90s, thanks to the internet. So don't think that no one talked about housing back then. If you add an and, I'll do an and homeless, and I'll misspell it. If you add a word after and, that's a Boolean operator. The important thing to remember about that is this is telling the database, look for everything with housing first, and then out of those search results, return everything that has the word homeless in it as well. So we'll go from 79,000 down to, drum roll, 7,000. Another cool thing you can do is you can add, let's go to advanced search. You can add all these different iterations. You can do housing or affordable housing. I put it in quotes so those words stick together. That works on Google too. So I could do all these synonyms and related terms to those words. And I'll do, oh, tiny home is a sexy thing as an intervention for homelessness. And then do you see the and right here? So I could expand on homeless, or homelessness, or unhoused, or underemployed. How are these populations described might differ from paper to paper or from era to era. So when we're looking at these social constructions of how a population is described, it's sometimes handy to put in all the related terms or synonyms. Dale's quick AI cheat, it's not a cheat. If you go to ChatGPT or Google Gemini, keywords related to homelessness, it'll give you some more keywords. Ooh, unsheltered, housing insecurity, housing crisis. These aren't synonyms. I guess they're related to. And then they have causes and things like that. You can see I was supposed to do that. Ooh, affordable housing. Okay. You can also add rows, but let's see what we get. So we've expanded it. It should be more than the 7,000 that we had? Yeah, 10,000. You can add as many keywords as you want. And what this means is it'll have any one of these keywords with the ors in between, and it'll have any one of these keywords. If you add just an and, it has to have all the keywords. If you add ors, it's one of those keywords, if that makes sense. Cool thing, if you have to do peer-reviewed, you can narrow down. A lot of these will have like that peer-review checkbox. That refers to the journal itself, not the article. So if you're wondering, I'll show you what a scholarly article looks like. You can also come, if you don't want to look at like the Lyndon Johnson administration, you can come up to, let's come up to like the pandemic era, so 2020. Sometimes this database churns. Oh, isn't that cool? Also, if you're interested, so if this looks like a good body of articles that you want to look at, go under subject. These are, I call them facets. All the articles have keywords written by the authors of the article. And when you look at the subject, this is the number of times that they show up. So you can see COVID-19 is going to be a big one, but you can start to build out trends. So if you're building a literature review, you could say, well, mental health is one of them, poverty is one of them, pandemics clearly in this case, employment status. I mean, this reads out just like a ChatGPT or a Google Gemini. You can see at-risk populations. So you can start to see some of the ideas that you want to. If you would like to, you can go specifically into one category and say, I only want to look at the ones related to mental health, because I'm looking at a mental health intervention by a society. You will get stuff from all over the world. The cool thing is if you speak languages other than English, you can search for those here too. Most of these will be English, but there's a big body of literature coming out of Asia, as well as Central and South America. So if you speak Spanish or Portuguese, you have a big advantage. One of my sociology students speaks Portuguese. Oh no, tragically they graduated, but at any rate. Oh, there's the language. Oh, there's one in French. If you want to, once you get to this point, you can narrow it down even farther. Is there a particular intervention you're looking at? Maybe I'm looking at social workers and having them be part of an intervention. See how you kind of go down the rabbit hole to look at these different ideas? So when you're looking at something, what does a scholarly article look like? Oops, dissertations show up there from time to time too. Let's look at one that has full text. Contradictions within the Swedish welfare system. By the way, did you know it's okay to grab something from outside the United States as a case study or as an examination of a population or an intervention? That's evidence-based that you can use in the context of what you're talking about. So be fearless and leave the borders of the United States if you must. Scholarly articles are going to be very boring and unbiased looking. Think of a lab coat on somebody. And they're going to have, the most important thing is going to be the title, but then also the authors. So we can always look up the authors and see who they are and reach out to them. You can see, cool, University of Geneva. I bet the coffee's good there. What they will do is give you an abstract, and the main ideas and values and maybe sometimes the methodology and outcomes will show up here. But in essence, you don't have to read the entire scholarly article. In fact, very few people do. What they will do is give you the main point, and then they'll spend the rest of the time giving background, precedents, methodology, evidence, and things like that. So it just goes on and on and on. Oh, and then they'll give you references as well. Did you see how I grabbed that abstract? Another AI tip is what's going on in this abstract? Let's see if I can break it. So I put in the abstract of that article, and it will say, oh, there's factors contributing. Systemic failures, conflicting welfare systems, consequences. Isn't this cool? So you could use these keywords and go back in and write more, or you could figure out more of like what this is talking about. Most of these have citation generators, by the way, so you can get the APA style or whatever it is that you're using. These are often wrong. Extra credit, if I was in your class, this shouldn't be capitalized. There's little nuances that your professor will catch. And you can email them to yourself as well. Okay. If you want to, you could look at an issue and a population in any of these. This one's kind of general. This one looks at societies, so large groupings of cultures and beliefs and values. This one looks specifically at psychology. It is a beautiful database. This one looks at protected populations that are 18 and younger in the United States. This is public policy, so if you're looking for solutions, I highly recommend going to this one. Nursing, medicine, etc. Again, if you run stuck on anything, let me know. Let's go to Scopus. This is my last thing that I'm going to show you. So if you've done a bunch of searches and you have like a bunch of different ideas, but you want to know what the best article is, let's do that same search, which I handily have saved in my OneNote. So if I was looking at what the most influential article was, I would want to know what's being cited by everybody else. So out of these 8,000 articles published that are kind of related to my keywords, in Scopus and Web of Science, I can see which one was cited the highest. If you're building a lit review, you can see which ones have the most impact. So let's see. I'm looking for ones that are evidence, not systematic reviews. OK. Behavioral model for vulnerable populations. This is a model where I guess you could do intake into a medical situation. But this one was so important that these 1,058 articles couldn't exist unless they cited this one. Isn't that cool? That person gets like a free parking spot and tenure and things like that. In this one, if you're looking for a particular discipline, you can go straight to social sciences and limit to that. You can say, I only want articles and limit to that. And I only want stuff in the United States, and you can limit to that. What's the last one? Oh, I want something that's like published since the pandemic came to kind of a rough end. So racialized homelessness, transgender poverty, longitudinal analysis. All of these are the greatest hits of whatever narrowing that you did, because you can see the articles that did that. By the way, if you want to click on that, you can go on and on and on down the rabbit hole and sort these by number of times cited. Oh, this database is awesome. To get full text of these, click on the Find It. It'll send you back to the library catalog. It'll look for that journal, and it'll, under a yellow bar, it will say, look in this particular database, or it will just dump you right into the article. This is Dale the Librarian. Let me know if I can help you.